I don't know about you, but I learned how to drive cars on a stick shift. And for those of you that don't know, when the car is stopped, you have to go on first gear to start moving forward. And as you start moving, then you have to shift to second gear. And if you keep going faster, you have to go into third gear. And there's other gears too. And obviously, if you have to reverse, you have to go in reverse gear. But the voice has gears too, and a lot of us don't realize that. So what we do is the equivalent of kind of driving our car in first gear. And I alluded to this a little bit in the High Notes for Men video that I made, but I want to talk more about these different registers in our voice today. The analogy I want to use though is, if you know what a cello is, it's that big violin-like string instrument that is huge. It goes on the floor and people bow and they stand as they play it. That would be the equivalent of the first gear in the voice. It means that our vocal folds are really fat and big. And then, I don't know if you know what a viola is, but a viola is kind of like a bigger violin. I think we all know the violin, but a lot of us don't know the viola. The viola is a bigger size violin. And that would represent the second gear in the voice, which would be the mixed voice, the voice that's kind of like in between that bigger voice and that smaller voice. And the third one, you guessed it, would be the violin. So the viola has a little bit thicker strings than the violin, and just like our vocal folds are a little bit thicker there when we're singing in that part of the voice. And the violin has the thinnest strings, and it's the smallest. So this is all the laws of acoustics and the laws of sound, that if you wiggle a bigger mass, a bigger string, it will create a sound wave that's a little bit wider. Then if you wiggle something a little thinner, it'll create a smaller sound wave and vibrate a little faster. And then if it's super thin, it vibrates really fast. So a low note is created by a thicker mass with, even more length to create a more complex sound wave. And then a higher note is one that's just a really thin one. So to exemplify this, I like to do this funny exercise. So I would say down here, we're gonna say in the chest voice for men, even lower, let's go. Cello, 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 cello. And the image you want to be seeing when you're saying cello, cello is this like really robust, instrument, these kind of fat vocal folds and like a very big open throat, kind of like a cello, just very big. So we go cello, 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 cello. Down here. Now let's go here. Cello, 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 cello. And here we can use our discretion. We might want to switch to a viola on the top note of this, or we might want to stay in cello. I'm going to stay in cello for now. So it sounds like this. Cello, 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 cello. And yeah, you want to kind of imitate that sound of the cello, that very big one. I'm going to stay in cello for here. Cello, 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 cello. So my voice is still feeling, big and bold. So I'm going to keep going with the cello. Cello, 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 cello. Here. I think I'm going to switch to a viola on the top note. So the first four will be cello and the fifth will be a viola. So it'll sound like this. Cello, 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 viola, cello, 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 cello. Good. Try here. I'm going to do the top two as violas. Cello, 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 viola, 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 cello, cello, cello. And let's just do two cellos and three violas now. Cello, cello, viola, 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 cello, cello. Let's do one cello and four violas. cello, viola, 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 cello. Now let's just go to viola land. We're just gonna do viola. Viola, 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 viola. You notice the different sound quality now? So what's happening is the voice, unlike a static external built instrument, is biodynamic. So it can actually shift its shape and the thickness and the length. Obviously, violins has more than two strings like we do. They're not really strings; they're folds. But and guitars and all these string instruments have multiple ones because it needs it. They can't bio adapt to intention. So we kind of have to rely on these instruments having more strings so that we can draw from them. But we just have a pair of vocal folds. So that the biodynamic nature of our voice allows us to be either a cello or a viola or a violin, metaphorically speaking, which is why the voice is so awesome, because it's the most flexible instrument. It's alive. It's biodynamic, as I said. So let's stay with violas now. Viola, 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 viola. Viola, 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 viola. Let's switch to a violin on the tippy top there. So let's do 4 violas and 1 violin. Sounds like this. Viola, 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 violin, viola, 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 viola. Same thing, 4 violas, 1 violin. Viola, 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 violin. Ooh, I said 4 violas. I wanted to do 3. So, viola, 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 violin, 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 viola, viola, viola. See the same thing here. Viola, viola, violin. Let me do 3 violas, 2 violins. Viola, 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 violin, 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 viola, viola, viola. Normally I wouldn't do it this way, but I'm actually doing it in this video for demonstration purposes. I would probably bring the viola a lot higher up, but I kind of want to introduce people to the violin sound earlier in this video. So we'll do 2 violas, 3 violins. Viola, viola, violin, 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 viola, viola. Let's try 1, let's do 2 violas, 3 violins again. Viola, viola, violin, 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 viola, viola. 1 viola, 4 violins. Viola, violin, 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 viola. Same thing again. Viola, violin, 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 viola. That's tough. Let's do all violins. Violin, 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 violin. All violins. Violin, 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 violin. One more. All violins. Violin, 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 violin. So when I'm doing the violin, my vocal tract feels like more delicate and fragile, like as a violin. It's smaller, and my vocal folds feel a lot thinner, like the strings would be on the violin. When I'm doing the viola, it feels a little bit bigger, and my vocal folds feel thicker. And when I do the cello, it feels more grounded and like on the ground and bigger. And like there's less room for vulnerability. So the violin is more fragile and requires a softer touch and actually a lighter touch. So a lot of people think that for higher notes you need more air, but that goes against the actual laws of sound and acoustics, because you need a thinner string, which would need a little bit less of a activation from the actuator, which is our breath. So you kind of have to diminish the breath as you go higher. If you want to sing loud and high, you're going to have to build up the strength to do that. And that takes a ton of patience and a ton of practice. And it takes also not being entitled, like, oh, why isn't it working? Why isn't it happening? And the reason why it's not working and it's not happening is because you haven't put, I don't know, the 15, 20 years that a lot of singers that are achieving those sounds with ease have put into it. So yeah, it takes about 10,000 hours, they say, to get good at anything. So do you really want it? Then go for it. And if you don't, then that's fine too. And just focus on other things that you want. But don't be entitled. All right, that's it for today. Take care, everyone.